Hey, it's Rob here, and I'm just jumping on for a quick note before episode 2 of the Startup Diaries podcast. In this episode, we talk about validating the idea and trying to get 3 deposits for our t-shirts within 48 hours. Well, I just wanted to tell you where to go to make those deposits if you're listening and you'd want to be one of the first in line to receive one of our first 3 designs as and when we finalise them. So if you go to nolongerknown.com, I'll leave a link in the description. That's all it is. Then you'll see on there a little bit of information about what we're building. It's very simple landing page at the moment, but crucially there's a deposit button on there asking for a £50 deposit, which will guarantee you first in line for one of our first 3 designs when they come out, and also a discount from that as well, and you'll be our friend for life. So yeah, nolongerknown.com, follow that link and make the deposit if you're kind enough to do so. But without further ado, here is episode 2 of the Startup Diaries. Hello, welcome back to the Innovate Eco podcast and the Startup Diaries. And this is episode 2 of this mini series that we're doing where myself and my brother Matt are attempting to build our own planet positive business, and we're going to record the journey here on this podcast and on various other YouTube videos and things as we go along. In episode 1, if you joined us, you will have heard that we chatted about the idea, talked about how we've had this idea for a number of years, and we've kicked it around, and finally after about 5 years we've decided to go ahead and launch it. So if you haven't listened to that episode, do go back and check out episode 1 to find out about the idea. But in this episode 2, we're going to go on to the next step, which is figuring out if this idea is actually worth pursuing and trying to find ways of validating it quickly and making sure that we're not going completely crazy and that there is actually some kind of demand behind the idea. So yeah, that's what we're going to do this week. And I'm joined again by my co-host and co-founder of the business, Matt. How you doing, Matt?
I'm good, thank you. Would you like to remind our listeners what the business is?
Yeah, so is this going to be so we'll start every episode with...
Yeah, I think we should start every episode.
The elevator pitch.
Yeah, and short and snappy.
Okay.
In case for some reason someone decided to skip episode 1 and they're coming in fresh.
Yeah, so I think that's a good way to start every episode. And I'm deliberately going to not write it down or read it because I need it in my mind and this will help me cement it there. But I still haven't really refined it, so hopefully over the next few weeks we'll get there.
Maybe I can give you my thoughts from the last. I could hear feedback from the last time.
Okay, right. Let's have feedback first, and then I'll try and launch into a new one.
I've noticed that you don't say what the name of the business is until the very end. I think maybe it's helpful to lead with that.
Yeah, but
and also not saying what the business is actually doing until quite late on into the pitch. Maybe that's good. This is just
that's an interesting one. Like, yeah, how much do you lead with product? How much do you lead with problem?
Yeah, I feel like you've gone very problem focused. Whereas maybe you could be like one sentence saying what it is, if that's possible. Then the problem, then a more detailed. I don't know. I'm not an elevator guy.
Right, let's go for it. Okay, I'll take that feedback on board and try and do a quick elevator pitch for new listeners and old, and try and get this down. So, the brand is going to be called No Longer Known. It's a... What are we... I mean, this is the thing. Are we going to call it? Are we going to call it a clothing company? Are we going to call it a fashion company? Or are we not? Because, do we want to limit ourselves?
Well, this is why we're...
Question.
This is why we're doing this, to answer these questions. I don't know. What do you think?
Right, I'm just going to start with that. Let's go with that, and we can evolve it over time. But
Yeah.
I'm worried about it's so the brand is called No Longer Known, and the mission is to draw attention to the problem of biodiversity loss by linking number of endangered or critically endangered species to limited edition drops of various products, starting with um, t-shirts, but that could expand into other things. So drawing attention, raising awareness of the idea of biodiversity loss and extinction by linking the number of specific animals to the number of the product available, and working on unique designs with local artists, local to where the species or the animal or plant is from. And that was terrible. That was really
I
bad.
think it was definitely more succinct than last time, from what I
Yeah,
remember.
that was that was bad. We need to work on that. But
It's just because, well, we can't have it perfect at the beginning, otherwise there's no room for improvement.
if I nail it on that first one, then what's the point?
Yeah.
I have written it down. I've written the mission and vision down, which is the funny thing. I feel like I've got it quite good in text. I just can't remember it yet.
I think I quite like um the the new angle of it being product starting with t-shirts.
Yeah.
I think that's quite interesting.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because you don't want to go too wide and it loses its focus.
Yeah.
Equally, do you? Or is it okay? I think maybe it would be okay to just start saying it's a limited edition apparel.
Yeah.
Is apparel? I don't even know what the word apparel literally means, but like, I'm assuming maybe that could mean like prints and things as well. But limited edition apparel linked to.
In there, according to Google, it's specifically clothing.
Okay.
Yeah, if there's a word for like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's like clothing and potentially the artwork itself.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We'll have to think about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, for now.
Tune in next week.
See you next week. You get the idea. So it's linking this idea. Let me give you an example to embellish slightly. So the one we brought up last week, which a couple of people have messaged in about, excited already, the mountain chicken, a frog that is endemic to which country was it again?
Oh, golly gosh.
Either way, there's not many, according to the IUCN, which is the body that keeps an eye on how many numbers of rare species there are left in the wild. There aren't many of these mountain chickens left, and so the idea is to draw attention to that, because this is an animal that not many people are aware of. And I mean, I certainly, even as someone that works as an ecologist, hadn't come across the mountain chicken before. So crazy that there's only a few of them left, and hence the name no longer known. We might not have known about them before they went extinct, so which is pretty crazy. So yeah, you got this.
I've got they are native to the Caribbean islands of Dominica and Montserrat.
Okay.
So that would mean that we would find an artist who is from one of those islands. And yeah, they would do a design in their own style of the mountain chicken.
And then again, we haven't got it to hand how many there are left, but let's say there are 60 mountain chickens left in the wild, that we would release 60 t-shirts. And that would, once they're gone, and that's the idea is. And the hope is with t-shirts, the idea, we came to t-shirt because it's fairly easy thing to get going with. We wanted the business to be something that wasn't too tricky and didn't involve loads and loads of work, another more excuses to not get started. But also hopefully it acts as a easy way to start conversations. The whole point is that if someone's wearing the t-shirt, hopefully if the design's good enough, someone will ask them, what's that? And then they could go, that's a mountain chicken. It's from the brand no longer known, and they can start a conversation about that. And hopefully that will get the message of biodiversity loss out to more people, because it isn't getting out to people. This very, very serious issue that we are facing, and we've got to try something different. So hence the idea.
And did you say about money going to local organizations?
Yes. I mean, we've got to, this is the thing, but when you're doing something that's in the impact space, or trying to tackle an issue like this, you've got to make sure that you do everything right from the start. And yeah, we would make sure that some of the money went to a local conservation organization or someone that's working in that ecosystem. So for the mountain chicken again, it would be, let's give a percentage of the money from each sale goes to a project that's conserving habitat. I doubt there's a specific mountain chicken charity, but there should be charities that are working in the areas where the mountain chicken lives. So that's the plan. So quite a lot of moving parts, and again, hence why we're doing the podcast and documenting it. There's going to be, as we unpack all these things over the next few weeks and months as we develop this, I'm sure lots more questions and ideas will come up. So we don't need to answer it all now, but yeah, definitely need to do work on that elevator pitch. But every episode we'll give it a go, try and get it down to a few succinct sentences rather than what we are now, 6-minute explanation.
The really tall building.
Yeah, really big elevator. All right. So on to this week's episode. So as I said at the start, we're going to talk about validating the idea. How can we figure out if there's actually going to be demand for this, which is probably quite important, I guess. Do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I'd say it was pretty crucial.
I think it's more common than you would think with businesses, and I've definitely been guilty of this in the past, of tinkering around with a business idea, building a website for months on end, and then just being really nervous to even put it out to the world, kind of having this gut feeling that there might be demand, but until you've actually put it out there and asked people, you don't know if your ideas. I mean, well, there's 2 of us that think it's a good idea, so that's better than just one. But I think it can feel quite safe and secure just keeping the idea to yourself, and that next step of actually putting it out to the world is quite a big one. Probably shouldn't be underestimated.
Yeah, and how would you gauge interest? Is this purely word of mouth? Are you hiring a focus group?
Yeah, so there's several ways you can do it, obviously. And again, like the temptation is to do months and months of research of looking at like the market. We could go out and say, oh, what other fashion brands are doing similar things? Like what price point are they at? How many are they selling? And I think that's useful. I think we should do some of that. We should probably go out and sort of see what other brands are selling. But I think you can, when you're trying to create something unique, that can be an issue. You can get bogged down in, and I know the better strategy is not to try and find the competition and compete with them. It's to try and carve out a new niche or something unique. I follow this guy called, I think he's called Matt Smith. I'll just have to double check that. I mean, I can find his name. Alex Smith. That's the one. Not Matt Smith, the guy from Doctor Who. And he is this strategy guy on LinkedIn, and he's always going on. His thing he bangs on about is like, create your own market. Don't try and get bogged down in competing. So he talks about some of the ideas, like a good example is Lush, the soap brand in the UK. I don't know if they're a global brand, but
I think they are.
Yeah. And how they decided to take like cosmetics, which were really boring and like all the labels were really scientific and stuff, and then packaged it up in a more fun way, like a sweet shop or like a market stall. They have all their soaps and stuff in like these really bright colors in a market stall. They just completely like created a new area of the market rather than going like, oh, all the other soaps are packaged like this, so I need to do something like that because that's what people want, and then price it cheaper. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Interesting. So what are we doing that's different?
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think there's any other clothing companies that are linking limited drops to
I've not
the
heard
number
of
of animals in the wild. So the limited drops idea is something that we're is not unique. But yeah, certainly the idea of of that is unique. So hopefully it'll be we won't be competing just because of the design. There's like something else behind the story, right? So it's not.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was just literally we're doing some designs. That wouldn't be unique.
It is interesting because, yeah, anecdotally, talking to people about it, people seem quite excited by the concept of the relationship between the animal and the number available. But it's one of those things where it's going to be interesting when we're talking about trying to get people to invest money or put a deposit down. I feel like it's not the same as if the business was like something that solves a specific problem.
Mm.
You don't necessarily need to see it before you commit to it. Whereas this is like, it's a concept of something that we don't know what it's going to look like yet, and they're all going to look different. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I don't know if we need to get a couple of designs sorted before we start asking people for money, or if we just try and get enough trust that
So
they will look
yeah,
good and you will want to wear it.
that's the challenge, and that's what I want to test what I was going to propose in this episode. So you're right. If every book you read, it's like they go on and on about how make sure you're solving a problem or whatever. And like you're right. If there was like someone invented a thing to like a back scratcher that hadn't been invented before, that was like a, I don't know, AI powered back scratcher that like learned your back contours, and like it's like solving
Whoa.
a serious problem for for a large number of people, right?
Grab the t-shirt idea.
Yeah, so I've got an itchy back. That's why I came up with that. But you know what I mean? Like it's solving like a one problem, and it's a product that solves that problem. Whereas when you're creating like a brand or like a clothing brand or something like that, I guess the problem is like what people wanting to move away. This is how I see it. Move away from just buying fast fashion and just buying clothes for the sake of buying clothes, and going back to clothing having more meaning, and wanting to feel like they're buying something that hopefully lasts a long time, is something that they can feel really excited about wearing again. It's not just another piece of clothes that you just chuck in the bin or whatever. And hopefully if we create it right, it can be something that could last for a long, long time. If we get the circular model right, something we talked about getting it remade over and over again, hopefully that also solves this problem around fast fashion and stuff, which I think is, why the clothing angle is interesting, because that potentially solves more of a problem than, say, a print or something like that.
Yeah.
So if we're thinking about it through the problem lens. But yeah, I think your point is really interesting about how far do we go down the design route. Like how much can we capture people's imagination through my snappy elevator pitch?
Yeah.
And just the idea, you've probably tested it with a few people, and I have as well, and it definitely makes people pay attention and go, okay, that's interesting, but this is the key thing and something I want to talk about. I've been reading this book, which is interesting. I've got it here, called The $1 Million Weekend, and this is by Noah Kagan, and YouTuber turned author. And he talks in here about this exact problem, that it's all well and good talking to your friends about something. I mean, that's the first stage, even just talking about it, not just keeping it to yourself. But they can go, yeah, that sounds like a great idea, but it doesn't count, he says, until you get some kind of money exchanged. So an idea isn't validated until someone gives you some money. And I think that is the challenge, if we're willing to accept it. What do you reckon? The question is, do we try and mock up some designs, or do we just literally, I think we should just try and he says, get 3 paying customers. That's it. Doesn't say,
I
sounds
reckon we can
easy, but I bet it's not that easy. Can we get 3 customers just with the idea alone? Because if we can do that, and we've got some designs, it should be even easier.
I reckon we can get 3. I don't think, well, it kind of goes against the concept for us to mock up some ideas for designs, because we're not from, unless it's a specific British animal. But yeah, I don't know. 3 seems achievable.
And that's just adding resistance, right? Like the more that's just an excuse to not get going. Like it's the classic,
Yeah,
oh, we'll just launch it once we've done 2 designs, and then you have to go off and talk to 50 artists, and then
yeah,
we have
yeah,
to refine the design, and then before you know it, it's not going very good for the fortnightly podcast if we're
yeah,
a
exactly.
few months down the line and we've still not got our designs. So I think we're going to have to go out without the designs. And the example he uses in this book is he has like comes up with a like a subscription jerky service. Where so he completely draws up the idea, hasn't like done it, hasn't designed the product or anything. He just messages people he thinks will like it and says like, would you be interested in paying $20 a month or something for a box of jerky,
Right.
like delivered to your office or your home? And just talks about he hasn't made it, hasn't done any of that, and manages to get the 3 sales.
Does he? Do people get anything? Do they get like a email that says, "I promise you
Yeah,
will"?
like I think you've got to take a if you're going to take payment, you've got to like put it in writing and say this is a
Yeah,
deposit. You'll get it back if I never fulfill this order.
yeah. I quite like the idea. I mean, this is we've talked a lot about in the final product. Will people get? What will they get? Is it just a T-shirt? Will they get a copy of the artwork as well, a postcard, some kind of certificate verifying that they have one of the limited edition things? Quite like the idea of someone getting at least like maybe it's like a little no longer known guarantee. Because spoiler alert,
Mm.
we're quite far through our branding journey.
Yeah.
So we could give
So
like a,
we've already made the cardinal sin of like getting really stuck into branding before testing the idea. But I think that is to our benefit. Like you say, we can maybe do a little card or at least some kind of acknowledgement of these first 3 people that they've
yeah.
got something. Yeah.
I feel like the first 3 people should, the people who are willing to take a punch should get something. It feels weird getting just a verbal agreement,
Agreed.
just a little button.
A little button. Yeah, some kind of. I think that's a good idea, and hopefully the idea because the whole thing is built around this idea of scarcity. Hopefully, if we tell the story well enough, I'm thinking if it putting myself in those shoes, if there's a chance that this brand does take off and it does become a big success, what's 50 quid? How would £50? How much are we going to charge? I don't know. That could be refunded if it doesn't get delivered. I mean, sounds like a win-win to me.
Yeah, yeah.
So the other thing that Noah goes on about in this book is he's like, oh, everyone thinks you have to get 3 sales from outside of your zone of influence, but he's actually like, no, like start with people you know. I mean, one of the whole points of building this brand is that I have a background in nature, and that's what I do for my job. So I should have quite a lot of contacts who are already interested in the idea of protecting species. So he does say, he's like, you must know people who are like you, who, if you think this is a good idea, will also think it's a good idea. So he's like, start with your zone of influence. He's like, try and get even a family member, a friend, and then someone who you don't know quite so well as your 3. And then that's pretty much good enough to validate
Family
your
member
idea.
seems like a bit of a cop out.
I agree, especially as, two of us are on.
I'll buy one.
Yeah. Yeah, that feels like a cop out. I think we should try and get 3 non-family members within so it's within 48 hours. So I think we've said once this episode goes out, we will
Clock starts ticking.
start the clock. Yeah. Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah, sounds good.
So
And
the
are we
question then,
limiting it to 3? What if there's more?
yeah, no, it's definitely you're allowed to do more. It's a minimum of 3 in 48 hours. If we don't get the 3, and as I said before, the key thing is getting actual money. Like whether we'll have to set up like a PayPal or
Yeah.
get them to message. Like that's the key. Like it's all well and good someone saying that. Like I sent Matt a screenshot yesterday of shout out to Mike if he's listening, my friend who sent me a message saying put me down for a mountain chicken t-shirt. So but he said put me down for one, but until we get your
They
money,
mean
Mike,
it.
doesn't count.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a good point. Like, is this going directly into your bank account? Are you going to go quiet?
Podcast ended. after, yeah, I just wanted to get,
We made £100.
yeah, enough money to cover the equipment for the podcast. Um, no, well, yeah, we did again. This is another thing, right? This is like, oh, and maybe I'll share a quick clip here of someone I had on the podcast, Ollie, who was talking about this exact thing. He was talking about how all these barriers that we deliberately put in our way to stop us from doing the idea.
So just like do the tiniest possible step, but instead of thinking about it, instead of like, oh shoot, like I don't know those things, or like, oh, it's going to take me 2 hours to read that, or like, oh, look at that PDF report, or look at I need to then the legal status of the company, or like, there's so many problems, and of course there will be tons of problems, but just like start with something super tiny, and it can be just like write down 3 name ideas that you have, or just like write down the idea, or just like something even smaller, but just like start taking action about something that you care.
The price, I guess, is the key thing. Like, this is the hard thing, because we want to price the product, and we'll do a whole episode on the product and pricing and things like that. We want it to be super sustainable, planet positive. So that does come cost. We want people to be comfortable with that from the start. You know, we want it to be a product that you can potentially get remade. And the whole idea, I think anyway, I don't know if you agree with this, Matt, if you pay more for something, you're more likely to look after it and not treat it like fast fashion. It's a bit, it's not just charging for to make loads of money. Like, there is a reason behind it.
But then it's a fine line between, if it's really expensive, people might be afraid to wear it, and then that kind of goes against the whole concept of it being a billboard for the conversation. So,
but that's why I think being able to get it remade.
Yeah, exactly. So like, yeah, if people can send it back, and then maybe that old T-shirt gets recycled, and then they get a new one. Yeah, I think things like that. I mean, we'll go into more detail on these things, but
yeah, I quite like the idea of it being like almost a subscription service where you just get that included. You can send it back a number of times per year or whatever it is, or there's like a small fee to get it remade, because I think building that cost into the product from the start would be tricky, particularly over time, and like as costs of remaking it go up, like you've got to bet on that in. If you just say, oh, it's £100 and you get it remade for your lifetime, we might be setting ourselves
well,
up.
I was imagining it's like it's a reduced price when you get it remade, but you still have to pay for the cost of the T-shirt and printing and stuff. Because then because you really don't want to encourage people to be really, because then it goes back to fast fashion. People are just like being careless and getting it constantly remade. That's kind of creating another issue.
That's true.
There's true. A balancing act.
And we also want to make sure in that cost there's a nice chunk that can go to the charity or whoever it is we're getting to do that side of things. And we also want a good chunk to go to the artist. Like, we're thinking maybe we will probably pay the artist like a fee up front for the print, and then we'll pay them a percentage on every sale, which I think is the fair thing to do, right?
Yeah.
So you've got to build all that in. So I think it's difficult because we are in this world of fashion where things have got so cheap, and getting people comfortable with the idea of paying a bit more for it. We have to make sure we tell the story well, and we have to make sure that we make it clear that there will be, ideally when we properly launch, it should be clear what's included and how you can get it remade and stuff. Yeah. And I really like the idea of spending like good quality, getting good quality packaging and things like that.
Yeah,
making sure that the shipping is environmentally friendly, and it's going to add up, and we just got to make sure we get that balance right.
Yeah. I'm very keen for it to feel like, when it arrives at your house, it feels like a premium product. It's not, you don't just get the T-shirt. Maybe there's like a little message from the artist, or like a little bit more information about the artwork that's on the T-shirt, maybe a bit more information about the animal that's featured on it. Just like nice quality unwrapping as well. Because if you're asking people to pay, like we've been talking about maybe being up to £100 plus, if you're paying that much for just a T-shirt, it needs to be like, very premium quality. And obviously that goes back to the quality of the t-shirt as well. We need to get into sampling and finding products.
Yeah, that's something I don't think we should underestimate. I know we've looked at a couple of samples of very sustainable circular t-shirts, and the print quality goes down. So there's all these
Yeah,
trade-offs. And it's like how that's going to be the biggest challenge. Well, one of the biggest challenges is finding like a really nice quality t-shirt that shows off. If these prints are colorful and like really like they need to be top quality, but then putting that onto a material that's comfortable to wear, like the easy thing. Like Google, what's the most sustainable material? Like it would say hemp, but
yeah,
hemp is not the most comfortable. So it's like
yeah.
blend that with something else. Like all these things we've got to look into, and then do that at a cost, and ideally in a where a factory we can have control of in some way, or can make sure that everyone's getting fairly paid. It's crazy. I mean, this once you
Yeah,
open the
same
can
as
of worms of fashion, it's pretty
yeah.
interesting.
And if you
It's
blend
interesting.
it, then it's harder to recycle, and then yeah,
Anyway, we're getting bogged down with the detail, and that is the whole point of what we're not meant to be doing. So once this episode goes live, 3 transactions. So should we say, I think we should just go for like a middle of the road. So it's like a deposit, but it's not like, if it was £1, like I don't feel like that's so I think
yeah,
around £50 or something feels like it's a decent amount of money that you wouldn't just flippantly say, yeah, just have £50.
yeah.
But
Agreed.
it's enough to make to feel like it's a proper validation. Okay, we're gonna go with
I'm
that.
happy with 50. Yeah, 50 seems like more. I was going to say 40, but 50 is more of a challenge.
Okay, we'll go 50. And if we've got any international listeners, then we'll figure out a way to do it in dollars or in euros. Do we
What
just
is
make it 50 of everything?
Yeah, I mean, you could do.
I mean, the pound is so weak that it probably is about €50 and $50.
$62 apparently at the moment.
Yeah, okay. So the equivalent of £50 we'll ask for. So yeah, if you're listening to this episode, the clock has started now from the start. We'll start from the start. So if you email us in to hello@innovate-eco.com, then and I'll put that in the description to the podcast below and on YouTube as well. And if you're on YouTube, just leave a comment, and then I guess we'll set up like a basic landing page, just really basic, like click here, send a deposit to this PayPal, and then we'll just do that. Keep it really, really simple.
Just to be very clear, what you commit to £50, does that entitle you to first refusal on the first design or the first couple of designs?
Oh, now we're getting into like, yeah, I think that guarantees you a pick of like the first 3 designs.
Yeah, I think that's
You don't have to have the first one. Guarantees you a pick of the first 3 designs, and we'll also give you a discount. That might not give you the full, like depending on what we decide on the price point.
yeah.
Like we'll give you a good discount, like a 20% discount or something on that.
Yeah. And if the final price is too much, you can always get the 50 quid back. It's a deposit. Or is it?
Yeah, it's a refundable deposit. Yeah. Yeah, that's just on. Yeah, I think if you're not happy with the product that we end up creating, then you can have that £50 back. It's fine. But the whole idea here is like they're excited enough about getting one of these designs that they'll put that money forward. That's the idea. Okay, brilliant. Well, the clock's started. So yeah, leave a comment, send us an email. Hopefully we've already got the 3. But if not, I mean, what do we do if it gets to 48 hours? We've not got the 3. I mean, that's the big
That's
question.
it.
Do we just start a new business?
Journey over, like back scratching, AI back scratches.
Or do we iterate? Like,
I guess, maybe everyone we speak to that says no, find out why.
I think that's good anyway. We should definitely record the the reason why. If they say I'm not going to give you money for something that I've not seen yet, then but hopefully that won't be the case. Let's get the feedback. Episode 3, if we fail, will be looking over why and figuring out if there's a plan B. but hopefully that won't be the case.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Nice.
And if we succeed, I think episode 3 will talk about maybe the branding or something like that. Like we're moving on to the next element of building the brand. I think that would be a good next step.
That sounds good.
Cool.
I have a quiz. I thought it'd be nice to do a recurring quiz every episode.
Okay.
I think for the listener to get excited for.
Yeah, if they're not excited for the t-shirts,
They have to
they can
listen
get
to
excited for the quiz, and maybe this will just become a quiz podcast.
Maybe it will, and we can monetize that somehow. This first week is broadly about extinction and endangered animals, but
Are you going to make me look like a right fraud here?
I might make it more episode specific. So maybe next week there'll be more branding related questions.
Okay.
But yeah, today it's 4 questions about extinction and endangered animals, and 1 about Alan Sugar.
He is an endangered animal, to be fair.
Yes, and he's also he's relevant. He's a business entrepreneur, mogul guy.
That's true. He made that old phone thing.
Yeah, the Amstrad 5000 or whatever.
Yeah, I used to go into. Do you remember the gadget shop? And I used to just stare at that and just think it was the most amazing thing ever.
Really?
Yeah, it's like, well, imagine emailing from a phone.
We can do that now.
I know, but like this was the 90s or the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, let's do the quiz. I'm game.
All right, cue the quiz jingle. So I've actually got more questions, but some of them aren't very good. Okay. The axolotl, a critically endangered amphibian, is native to which country?
I think I've
got multiple choices.
Oh, can I try without the multiple choice? I was going to go for Mexico.
Oh, yes. Great. Well, maybe we don't need any multiple choices. Although I think the Alan Sugar one's going to be quite difficult without multiple.
Why don't we let me try and guess, and then if I fail, give me the multiple choices.
Okay. Which country is home to the greatest number of endangered species?
My gut is somewhere in South America. I'm going to go Brazil.
Okay. I'm going to give you the multiple choices, but I'm not going to say if it could still be right.
Okay, interesting.
Is it A, Canada, B, Brazil, C, United States, or D, Australia?
Oh, see, Canada and America I'm ruling out, but Australia is a bit of a curveball.
Basically,
they've been absolutely ravaged.
Stick or twist?
They've been absolutely ravaged by foxes and cats and things. I was there recently, and it's quite sad. I'm going to stick with Brazil.
Oh, it was Australia.
I literally just talked through why that was the right answer.
Yeah.
Well,
and at least you had some knowledge behind that.
I don't look like an idiot.
Yeah. And then, okay, third question. I can't remember. We've definitely talked about this animal a lot, but I don't know if we did talk about it in the last episode. But the vaquita, one of the rarest marine mammals in the world, is only found in which body of water? Can you describe what a vaquita is to the listener as well?
Yeah. So it's a small porpoise. It's
really cute.
Really cute. Google it, or I'll flash up a picture of it now on the YouTube. But it's this really cute little porpoise. That, again, I think this is one of the animals that really captures people's imagination when we talk about the no longer known idea. It's like, have you heard of the vaquita? Like, no. Well, there's only 10 of them left or something, and they're ridiculously cute, and people are like, wow, okay. Maybe I should take this topic seriously. So we've got to probably going to have a vaquita shirt at some point.
Yeah. Even though we don't want all their ones to be cute animals, we can have a couple. Yeah,
Matt talked about in the last episode. The idea is just like to break the mold of conservation, focusing on the charismatic, cute animals, and also bring in the ugly chaps as well. But vaquitas are cool. So I think they're from Mexico, like around Mexico as well. I'm sure that I've heard of a vaquita organization that's based around Mexico or Central America.
Okay.
So I'm going to go for the Gulf of Mexico.
Interesting. I'm going to give you the options again.
Okay, give me those options.
Is it A, the Gulf of Mexico? Is it B, the South China Sea? C, the Gulf of California? Or D, the Mediterranean Sea?
It's not the Mediterranean. I'm going to stick. I mean, I'm going to stick with sticking.
Okay. You seem to react to the Gulf of California slightly.
It's like it's in there somewhere.
And you should have swapped because it's the Gulf of California.
Cool. Okay, there's a moral to this quiz story.
So, yes, the Akitas can be found there. Question 4.
Yeah.
Higher estimations suggest how many species go extinct every year. Do you want to have a guess?
I think I talked about this in the last
You might have
episode.
done.
I think it's higher estimations.
Yeah.
Oh, so I think the lower estimation is 27,000.
I think we've got different sources then.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
No, well,
I think because the background extinction rate is like 100 to 1,000. That's what it should be, and I think it's like 27,000 species a year is like the lower estimate. But I'm sure I read all sorts of things, and this depending on where the source is. Like, some people say like 1 million or something, or is it 1 million are at risk of extinction?
yeah, I'm actually going to avoid this question. We need to do more research.
Yeah, about our product. Yeah.
Yeah, forget it. I'll move on to the more important question.
TBC on that one.
So yeah, as I mentioned, Alan Sugar came up. I turned on the TV a couple of days ago, and a new series of The Apprentices seemed to have just started.
Yeah.
And obviously we're just starting a business. So I was like, I'll watch this for a bit. Maybe I can learn something. Obviously not. It's a reality TV show. It's really stupid. But I was watching the boardroom scene, and it seemed like one of the contestants had used rock, paper, scissors as a kind of decision-making tool during his sales kind of challenge,
Right.
which I don't think went very well. And Alan Sugar, very kind of famous for kind of witty remarks and one-liners in the boardroom, had a response to this. So, was his response rock, paper, scissors, more like rock bottom? Was it B, rock, paper, scissors, sounds like you're between a rock and a hard place? Or was it C, rock, paper, scissors, more like rock, paper, fired?
I mean, the only reason I still watch The Apprentice is for Alan's like decreasing standard of puns. I think they're just so good, and the silence that follows them is because he doesn't take the program seriously at all anymore. He like literally, I feel like he's on it just for the brand. But the people that go on it is literally like their whole lives like are into. So it's this weird contrast of this guy taking the piss with these guys that are like have given up, just quit their jobs.
Yeah, but he also has writers, and I'm quite sure.
Yeah. Anyway, so I haven't watched it yet, so that's good. I really, really hope it's C. But like, I really do. I'm going to go for C.
You're going for C. It is C. He said rock, paper, scissors, more like rock, paper, fired. It's not even close to a pun.
And he did that to fire them?
No.
Wow.
Yeah. So spoilers, if he wasn't really a spoiler.
I wonder if he was like making like weird connections in his kind of slightly senile mind, like rock, paper, fire or something, thinking that was a thing, and then I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Obviously not a thing. Like,
it's so good. It really made me laugh.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's great. I'm gonna have to watch it.
And then I turned it off.
See that. And then I turned it off. Bro. Well, on that note,
well then you got 2 out of 4.
Yeah, and I talked myself out of getting another couple right there, which is annoying. But oh well. I thought I only got 1 right.
No, you got the last one right.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, 2 out of 4. Okay, 2 out of 4 ain't bad. So is this going to be a recurring theme?
Yeah, I'm going to try and go a bit more specific, topic episode topic to the
Yeah.
the
And it's
quiz.
a good way to introduce some of these species as well and talk about
That's true.
in quiz form. That's quite nice.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll do that. And I think in a couple of episodes' time, we will do a bit more of a deep dive on the mission and this topic of these rare and endangered species, and we'll have the stats as verified as possible. I've got a feeling it's one of those where, because the stat relies on, well, there's so many animals we still haven't even discovered yet, and plants we haven't even discovered yet. So there's all these estimates of like, well, if we haven't discovered loads, then we have to add on loads more numbers. So we'll try and find a proper cited reference for that episode.
Yeah.
Deal. All right, well, Matt, we better get on with designing some sort of landing page and figuring out all that stuff. So when this episode goes live very shortly, we'll have 48 hours. The clock will start ticking, and fingers crossed we get those 3 sales.
Yeah. Good luck.
Thanks.
So thanks again for tuning into the Startup Diaries podcast. Hopefully you're enjoying this as we find our feet and start building this brand out. As I said at the start, if you want to be one of the very kind people to put down a deposit and secure one of those first t-shirts, then do head to nolongerknown.com. It should be very straightforward on there. There's a deposit button to put down a £50 deposit. You should also be able to do it if you're overseas as well. Hopefully the technology will help and be able to do that. And yeah, we'll see you for episode 3 in a couple of weeks' time. And thanks in advance if you put down one of those deposits.